Hello class, today we are going to move on to chapter 9, discussing measurement. So in 9.1 that we'll go over today, we are going to look at measuring length and the metric system. So our objectives today are to use dimensional analysis to change units of measurement, understand and use metric prefixes, convert units within the metric system, and use dimensional analysis to change to and from the metric system. Alright, let's look at length here. Alright, we have our linear units of measure with the English system, where we have 12 inches equals 1 foot, 3 feet equals 1 yard, 36 inches equals 1 yard, and 5,280 feet equal a mile. So in the English system, the system that we primarily use over here in the U.S. is typically what we use: inches, feet, yards, and miles. Okay. Now, each one of those has a unit conversion. The unit conversion is what I just read through here. The 12 inches to a foot, 3 feet to a yard, 36 inches to a yard, 5,280 feet to 1 mile. Okay. Unit fractions contain different units, and the value of the unit is 1. So if they're equivalent and you divide them, you essentially get a unit fraction of 1. So here are some unit fractions. 12 inches over 1 foot is essentially just 1 because they're one and the same. They're the same thing. 1 foot over 12 inches is once again a unit fraction because it's essentially 1. 12 inches and 1 foot are essentially the same thing. 3 foot over 1 yard, also a unit fraction. Like I said, 3 foot and 1 yard are essentially the same thing. 1 yard over 3 foot works as well because they're still a unit fraction because there are 1 yard and 3 feet. 5,280 feet in 1 mile, or 5,280 feet over 1 mile, is a unit fraction, and vice versa. 1 mile over 5,280 foot is a unit fraction because those are equivalent. Alright, so with dimensional analysis, we want to convert a measurement to a different unit. And to do so, we multiply by the unit fraction or by unit fractions. Sometimes it takes more than one multiplication to get where we want to go. The given unit of measurement should appear in the denominator of the unit fraction so that this unit cancels upon multiplication. The unit measurement that needs to be introduced should appear in the numerator of the fraction so that this unit will be retained upon multiplication. So let's look at an example using dimensional analysis to change units of measure. We want to convert 40 inches into feet. What we're going to do is we are going to start with 40 inches. Okay, this is what we're starting with. And we want to get to a unit of measure of feet. So I'm going to set this up as a fraction. I'm going to write 40 inches over 1 to start my first fraction. And I know I want to go from inches to feet, which means I need to divide by inches so that these inches indeed cancel out, as you see here. Now I know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot, so I'm putting that, just like we discussed back here, I'm putting that unit fraction in so that my inches will cancel out and be left with feet. Now, once I'm left with feet and those inches cancel out, I'm exactly where I want to go because I'm converted to feet, which is what I'm looking for. Now all I have to do is do the multiplication and division involved with the numbers. So 40 times 1 is 40. 1 times 12 is 12. I wind up with 40 feet over 12. Now, if we want to look at this as a fraction, you could say 3 1/3 feet, or you could say 3.3 repeating feet. Just depends on how the question asks for it. Okay? So all I essentially did to get that was do 40 divided by 12. That gave me 3.3 repeating. Okay, and so we have converted 40 inches into 3.3 feet approximately. Now let's look at B. 13,200 feet into miles. So we're going to start with this 13,200 feet. We're going to put it as a fraction over 1. 13,200 feet over 1. That's what we're starting with. Okay, now I know that I want to get rid of feet and I want to convert it to miles. We have a unit fraction that converts feet to miles because we know that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So that is the next thing that I write, and I'm doing this multiplication here. Now, writing that 5,280 feet on the bottom is going to allow the feet and feet to cancel out and leave me with this mile, which is what we want. Okay, so essentially all I'm doing here now is 13,200 times 1, which gives me 13,200. 1 times 5,280, which gives me 5,280. Then I do that division of 13,200 divided by 5,280, and I see that this 13,200 feet is equivalent to 2.5 miles after I do that division. Simple as that. Okay. Now, let's look at length in the metric system. Now, the metric system is used in most industrialized countries. It's based on powers of 10, and let's look at some of the commonly used metric prefixes. So, if we look at the prefix here, we have kilo, hecto, deca, deci, centi, and milli. Okay, and the symbols that represent them respectively are K, H, Da, D, C, and M. Okay, now kilo means 1,000 times the base unit. Hecto means 100 times the base unit. Deca with a K means 10 times the base unit. Deci with a C is 1/10 of the base unit. Centi is 1/100th of the base unit, and milli is 1/1000th of a base unit. Okay, so using those symbols, the kilo, hecto, deca, deci, centi, and milli, we attach those symbols, the K, H, Da, D, C, and M, to the different size units. Okay, so if we're looking specifically here at the unit of meter, meter is our base unit here. Okay, so meter, I can attach those prefixes that we just discussed to the word meter. So we'll use these prefixes and all these symbols here, attach it to the word meter. Okay, and now we will have our kilometers, our hectometers, our decameters, our meter, which is our base unit, our decimeter, our centimeter, and our millimeter. Okay, a kilometer is 1,000 meters, a hectometer is 100 meters, a decameter is 10 meters, a meter is obviously just 1 meter, that's our base unit. Our decimeter is 0.1 meter, our centimeter is 0.01 meter, and our millimeter is 0.001 meter. So, we can change units within this metric system using the following chart to find equivalent measures of length. Now, this chart here is very, very simple. It's just kilometer, or km, hm, DAM, M, DM, CM, and MM. Okay, each of them is just a division by 10 from left to the right, or a multiplication step when we go to the right. So if we're going from kilometers, say, to hectometers, we're talking about multiplying by 10. If we're going from centimeters to millimeters, we're dividing, or we're multiplying by 10. If we're going from centimeters to decimeters, we're talking about multiplying by 10. So now, according to this chart, it says to change from a larger unit to a smaller unit, moving to the right in the diagram, we want to multiply by 10 for each step to the right. Thus, move the decimal point in the given quantity one place to the right for each smaller unit until the desired unit is reached. To change the smaller unit to a larger unit, moving to the left in the diagram, we're going to divide by 10 for each step to the left. Thus, we're going to move the decimal point in the given quantity one place left for each larger unit until the desired unit is reached. Okay, now I'm going to stop this right here. Okay, maybe you learned it this way, and this is a perfectly valid way to do it, right? Maybe you went to a small school like me, or maybe even the big schools do this. I don't know. But they taught us when I was in either middle school or elementary school. I think it was middle school. Just a little saying. There was 2 of them that were used by 2 different teachers that I had. One of them was, I believe, King Henry died Monday drinking chocolate milk. The other one that another teacher used when I was growing up was kangaroos hop down mountains drinking chocolate milk. And we basically use this as a point to change our decimal places. So if it was a centimeter here and I wanted to change it to a regular meter, I could know that I just need to move my decimal 2 places to the left here. Same thing here. If it was a kilometer and I wanted to move it to a meter, I would start here at the kilometer and I would move my decimal place 3 places to the right. That's how I learned it. If you learned it by the multiplication and division scheme, that's fine as well. We just want to get to the correct answer. And there's several different schemes that'll work here. Okay, so let's look. Let's try this problem here. It says convert 504.7 meters to kilometers. Okay, so this is what we want to do. We want to convert this 504.7 meters to kilometers. Now, meters is right there in the middle. It's that M, obviously, here. Looking at the solution already, it's the M here. The decimal place lies right here behind the M. And we are going to get to kilometers. We're going to have to move 3 places to the left. Okay, so that's essentially all we're doing, just moving 3 places to the left. So we're going to move that decimal point 3 places to the left. If you do it like I did it when I was in middle school, kangaroos, hop, down, mountains, drinking, chocolate, milk. I know I sound real country right there. Well, decimal place is here. I want it to be a kilometer, so I need to move it behind the K. I'm moving it 1, 2, 3 places to the left. So I'm going 1, 2, 3 places to the left. So it should be 0.5047 kilometers. That's simple, guys. All right, now let's convert 27 meters to centimeters. Now we're just going the other direction, right? So I'm going to use their line up here. You can already see the arrows written on it. So we're going from meters to centimeters. We're going 1, 2, 2 places to the right. So if I start here, I'm going 1, 2. I just need to throw some zeros in there. So you see we have 2,700 centimeters in 27 meters. And it's that simple. As long as you know how to set it up, you can use one of the quippy little sayings, or you can memorize, just the layout of it, whatever works for you. And all we're doing is essentially moving to the left and the right with our decimals. We're not doing anything fancy. All right. Now we're going to use dimensional analysis to change to and from the metric system. So, like I said, we pretty much live in the English system, and other countries do use the metric system quite a bit. The metric system is used in the U.S., and there's a lot of intermixing here. So we need to know how to convert from one to the other. And there are conversions for these, approximate conversions, but close enough. All right, so 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. 1 foot is 30.48 centimeters. 1 yard is 0.9 meters, and 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. Okay, so and you can tell on the chart it says these conversions are exact for the inch and foot, and the other conversions are approximate, and they're rounded. Okay, so now that we know these conversions here, or these approximate conversions, we can now do conversions between the English system and the metric system. Okay, so we want to convert 125 miles to kilometers. Okay, we're going from miles to kilometers. Miles to kilometers. 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers approximately. All right, we can do this. Okay, so I have 125 miles that I'm converting here. I'm going to start out with setting that up as a fraction, 125 over 1. Now, I know, just like what I pointed out back here in the chart, that 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. The hardest thing is figuring out which one goes on the top and the bottom, and honestly, that isn't even that hard to begin with. Okay, so we put the miles on the bottom because we want the mile unit to cancel out here and leave us just with the kilometer unit. So I'm putting 1.6 kilometers over 1 mile. That's the reason I chose this particular unit fraction. So now all I have to do is 125 times 1.6. 1 times 1 is 1. Anything divided by 1 is itself. So technically this would be over 1. But if it's divided by 1, it's just itself. So I'm really just looking at 125 times 1.6, which gives me approximately 200 kilometers. Just use your unit conversions, your unit fractions. Now let's convert 26,800 millimeters into inches. Okay? Now, millimeters. We're trying to convert into inches, and our chart doesn't give millimeters. It gives centimeters. But what do we know about centimeters and millimeters? They're easily relatable in that metric system because we're just looking at units of 10 in that metric system, so we can convert the centimeters into millimeters no problem. So let's look at that 2.54 centimeters that we're going to need to get that inch. Okay? So what we're going to have to do first is we're going to have to convert, like I said, these millimeters into centimeters. Okay? So we're starting with 26,800 millimeters, And if I want to convert millimeters into centimeters, let's look at our chart. Kangaroos, up, down, mountains, drinking, chocolate, milk. Okay, millimeters is right here. We want to convert into centimeters, which is right here, which is basically just a move to the left. So 26,800 millimeters is just 2,680 centimeters. Now that I have it in centimeters, I have a conversion from centimeters to inches. 1 inch is just 2.54 centimeters. So if I start with the 2,680 centimeters that I just converted to, and I multiply this by our unit fraction of 1 inch, is the same thing as 2.54 centimeters, but I put the centimeters in the bottom so that the centimeters here will cancel out and leave me with inches on top, which is what I want. Then I'm winding up with 2,680 divided by 2.54, which is approximately 1,055 inches. Nothing to it, right? Nothing to it. All right, let's move on to the next one. Oh, there is no next one. The next one is the next section. Should be pretty simple. Okay. I really enjoy chapter 9. I like conversions, and conversions is something we actually do in Math 108 from time to time as well. So very important to get this down. Very important to be able to convert. Never know where you're going to be at in the world or how something's going to come in that might need to be converted. Okay. So I'll see y'all again when we come to chapter 9.2, and we'll continue on with this particular topic. Y'all have a good one. Reach out to me if you have any questions, comments, criticisms, whatever may have you. And I will see you next time.